Welcome back, JMA. And this lesson is going to be on your staffing, recruiting, and the beginning phases of hiring, which will be our next couple of lessons. So the objective of this lesson is to give students and you all a general understanding of the best practices for recruiting, staffing, and building your team. So we talked about building business, building infrastructure, building your organization. And we know that you must be, we're going to hammer it home, the expert at hiring experts. Right? So in doing that, that means we really must be good, right? It sounds cool, but how good are you? How efficient and proficient are we truly at hiring experts in our organization? So I want to give you all some of the best practices that we use in our organization that are proven that will allow you to be able to be this expert at truly building your team, recruiting, staffing, and hiring other experts, whether they be employees or contractors. So first and foremost, when you get into being the expert at hiring experts, we got to look at who is it that we need on our team. And that's going to be different for every business model that you guys have. If it's a real estate company, we obviously know that pretty cookie cutter. If it's a car leasing company, if it's a landscaping company, if it's a digital marketing company, whatever it might be, there may be different experts you need, and that's going to be based on you laying out what functions, right? So the first step is identifying, right? IDing your team members. Remember, staff can be contractors, employees, also could be volunteers or interns, right? So you want to identify these categories, who is it you need to effectively execute your vision, your burning desire, and to effectively make your organization be as effective as possible and profitable as possible and perform as best as it can, right? So it's who do I need to effectively live out and execute my vision? That's what you should be asking yourself. And much of that is going to be determined by that organizational chart we covered and that flow chart. When you really dive into following the dollar, following the process of how you market, how you advertise, how you retain customers, how you operationalize your business, that's going to really tell you, when you look at it from a broad perspective. It's easy to say, okay, I'm going to need a salesperson, I'm going to need a marketing person, I'm going to need this person. How about, and one thing I totally suggest, we haven't talked about in this course up to this point, is I believe, not just in the flip chart, I believe in the big whiteboards. For many years, and my offices still are this way, and many even of my residents have whiteboard paint in the garages, whiteboard paint even in the living rooms, whiteboard paint all throughout the house. Because if you have big ideas, big, hairy, audacious goals, you need to be able to see those goals in a big way. So when I looked at just to give you an example, years ago, when I looked at my entire brand and the opportunities into my entire brand, I needed a big board to write out, okay, here's me, Jay Morrison, right? The Jay Morrison brand. And I know at the time I had a school uniform collection, YMC, so I knew that was one of my businesses. I was, and still am, a speaker and lecturer, so I had a speaking business. Then as an author, and still had real estate development and assets, that a real estate business, right? And then eventually we added on JMA. And then I was speaking on TV, as a TV personality as well. And so each one of these functions, initiatives, or businesses, all, mind you, I would write this out on a big wall because it was a big vision, but I needed to be, as the maestro, as a developer, organizer, orchestrator, facilitator, quarterback, right, point guard, I needed to be able to see my whole chessboard, right, the whole court, the whole field, and I can't even fit it on this board because honestly, under YMC, I then needed to break out who my staff was, who was my president, who was my whoever. Same thing in every single business or function. I needed to break out who are the staff, the functions. They have business models, vision statements, mission statements, all the intricacies under every single business model or initiative that all float up to the brand. And so I'm saying that to say, as you look to hire, staff, and recruit, even within just one organization, you need to be able to illustrate it, to write it out in a big and broad way so you can truly see all of what you're dealing with and what you're working with. It's not best practice, it's not recommended, and it's not wise to try to staff your business out of your head without actually seeing, okay, if I'm going to be a public speaker, many of you watching this may be looking to build a public speaking business or to have that as an ancillary product of your main business. So now, who do I need to effectively bring on for my public speaking? Who do I need? So I'm going to need some kind of publicist, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to need a business manager, right? That business manager is going to be the person that's going to work with my booking agent. So I'm going to need a booking agent for my speaking engagements. He or she may be the same person, or this business manager will also deal with our graphic designer for my EPK, electronic press kit, any marketing material, flyers from events that I'm doing, etc. This business manager will also deal with our merchandise fulfillment for any t-shirts, books, or other things I'm going to be offering while I'm on this speaking tour. This business manager may or may not be our tour manager or may work with our tour manager, right? Or the booking agent might be the person that deals with, right, our tour coordination. If we're going on any tours, it'd be a tour coordinator. And you would go on and on and on to see who it is that I need to be. And mind you, there's going to be money involved. So my business manager is going to need to deal with my bookkeeper to keep count of the revenue that we got coming in. Is going to work with our accountant. And so even under every small business model, and one of these might be an intern. You might have an intern as a graphic designer or a volunteer. And you need to do that for every function of your business to say, as I get all the way down to me actually speaking on stage, okay, I'm going to want to capture that content. So under my business manager or under the graphic designer or this booking manager, we're going to also need to hire our videographer or video team, which might also include our editor to get our content, and then we may have a subsequent social media manager, right, to be able to repurpose our content, etc. We may have some kind of obviously website to capture emails and data to promote my speaking. So maybe under that graphic designer or someone in his team, we also had our web developer, right? And a web developer can develop the site, but somebody has to design the site. So this web developer might be working with the web designer. And then somebody has to write the copy on the site, the actual words to make it sound sexy and cool and marketable and all that. So now the web developer is also dealing with a copywriter who may answer to this, right? Graphic designer may not be a graphic designer. It might be your brand manager, who then answers to your business manager, which may also be your operation manager of your business. Or this may be you because you don't have someone there. So you're delegating and coordinating all this. But again, the function of this is not to write a bunch of cool X's and O's. It's to literally show you, I'm teaching you as a very successful entrepreneur who's been a part of over 36 businesses in all different genres. I'm teaching you the exact strategy. It seems very informal for some of you who are so tech savvy. It might even seem primitive, and there may be softwares that do the same thing. I don't know. But for me, as a visionary, This is the easiest way to see my vision come to life, to be able to, what I call brain dump, is splat it all out and get it out of my head. Mind you, this is just one function. Imagine all these other businesses and functions and what's involved in those functions. But what this allows me to do is to see, from a complete vision standpoint, is exactly who I need, right? Now, mind you, these are, I misspoke. It's not who I need, but what roles do I need? What functions do I need? These are not people right now. These are functions. Do not. I'm going to give you some game that will save you so many headaches. Do not hire to the person. It's the worst thing in the world to do. Don't say, hey, I know such and such. They probably could be one of these things. Or what job can I find for such and such? They're my friend. I'm telling you, we all get caught up in it. There's times I go through it now. I'm currently going through it. There's folks that I like and that I love and that have talent. And then I found myself breaking my own rules and trying to figure out where could they fit. That's not how you staff and hire, how you build a team. It's not about trying to fit people or a circle into a square or a square into a circle. It's about identifying the functions. What is the function? What is the role? What are the responsibilities of that role? And then finding the best person to fill these functions, that role, and that responsibility. That's how you build a team, how you recruit, and how you staff, right? And so now we're going to get into some of the key metrics of what you're looking for in building that. So you identify the function and the role first: brand manager, merchandise manager, videographer, editor, right? Web designer, social media manager. So let's get a quick checklist for us. So in doing this, first thing we do, right? So we said this, identify your team members, right? So when I say that, identify the functions and the roles, right? Not the people. The function, the roles, and the responsibility. ID that first. Once you identify, right, the roles and responsibilities, the R&R, right, these functions, you then will create a job description around this function. Many times you can Google search that job description, right? Or search engine. Like we say, Google could be any, who cares? Google doesn't sponsor me, not yet. So you can use any search engine to be able to find a description, right? So you want to find a job description for that function and that role and responsibility. Now you may tweak that based on your particular needs. Maybe you don't need them to be there every day. Maybe you don't want them to be managing this. Maybe you just want a piece of that, right? But that will give you the framework. The initial framework is figuring out the role, responsibility, and function. Google or search a job description. After you search that job description, you also will look at job salary or compensation range per your geographical area, right? Where are you located? Salary ranges in Alabama are going to be different than New York City. Salary ranges in LA are going to be different than Chicago, different than Minneapolis, different than Texas, right? And so this will also, now this is not saying you got to pay what it says. All it's giving you is some parameters and an understanding of what's fair or what is normal or typical in the market. Now you may say, okay, I understand you pay 60 grand a year, but I need a volunteer right now. I don't got that kind of budget. I need an intern right now. And mind you, with a volunteer, you're gonna get volunteer type of time and volunteer type of talent. With an intern, you're gonna get intern type of time and intern type of talent and intern experience. And then you figure out what your budget is. With it part-time, is it full-time, right? Whatever it is. But this starts to give you the initial framework of what you're looking at. And it also allows you to start to build your budget for the business, right? Because as you see what the operational costs are for your salaries, right? Or if it's employees or your contractor fees or retainers, once you see what that is, you now can start adding up and say, oh snap, for me to run a business as a public speaker at the highest level, This is how much I'm looking at in monthly retainers, salaries, and fees to do at the highest level. Now, per your budget, you then can start to scale back and figure out, right, who do I need first? So once you figure out this budget per your job descriptions, right, so you will cross-reference all this to your budget. Cross-reference your budget. Then you will prioritize roles. Which role do I need first for my business to be able to start generating revenue, for me to be able to fund and grow the business and have all the roles? Typically, unless we have, again, some good earnings or savings, some nice equity, a great SBA loan, or received a lot of capital from our credit to cash and easy funding or unsecured business funding, or you got a big old bag, you have plenty of capital to invest into your business. If you don't have that, most small businesses have some form of what's called bootstrapping. That means being a little more frugal, a little more conservative, not having all the resources to just come out the gate, from day one with a full staff. You typically don't see that in businesses unless they inherited some money, inherited some wealth, or just have a big budget for whatever you did. Congratulations. But most small businesses do not start off with their full staff on deck. You build up to that staff. You start maybe with just your first key essentials of what you need, and then from there you start building out other team members. You might start off with some volunteer staff, some intern staff, and then inevitably you get into more sophisticated staff members, right? And so this is how you find out who you need, right? Who you need for your business. And I say who, what, right? What roles, responsibility, and functions, and then we go on to find the who's, okay? So the question is now, all right, Jay, we know what functions we need. We understand the cost of these functions, and I'm able now to prioritize who I need to get my business started to being profitable and performing well. But where the heck do I find these folks? And how do I find them? Where and how do I find talent for my organization? How do I, what's called recruit? How do I effectively staff, right? And so we're gonna give you some best practices that we use in our organization. This is the cool part. This is not a business master's class, a business university class where the instructor or professor is telling you what others do in business. I'm telling you what I do in my business, in my successful businesses, in my real successful life, right? So you guys, we're giving you secret sauce. These documents are, people sign non-disclosures to even be able to see these documents. This is our personal Jay Morrison Enterprise secret sauce that I want to contribute to you all so my legacy can live through you all, so you can say one day that I learned this with JMA, through Jay, through Will, through our instructors, through the RBC curriculum, right? So when we staff, and I don't do this part, right? So initially I had to do this part. Remember, I worked in my business. Now I've afforded the luxury to be able to work out of my business, and I work on my business. And so my staff works in my business. And these are the things, and we're going to talk about human resources in our next lesson, but these are the things that my staff does in order to be able to find talent for our organization. When I say, hey, you know what? We need a new role, or this person's out, we need someone better, more competent, with more experience, or we have a whole new position we're creating because of expansion of our business, whatever that is, this is what our staff does. And this is how it reads. Once the need has been made aware, right, by an executive or pod leader, right? So one of the executives or my marketing leader, customer service leader, financial leader, treasurer, whomever says, hey, Jay, it's a gap. We need some help. It's my job as the executive working on my business, or my operational manager or president, their job to say, to recommend to me, or whatever your process is. In some cases, I don't even want to hear from them. Hey, you know what got to be done, go do it. Or I'll approve, right? The executive or pod leader should complete the vacant opportunity description and forward it to HR to be posted, right? So that job description we talked about, typically my pod leaders, if there is a role that needs to be filled, will do what I just told you all to do. They will search that description and role. They will tweak it based on the needs of our company. They many times will run it past me to make sure it's exactly what I'm looking for in that particular role, right? That's how we do the vacant opportunity description, right? So that's our VOD. And so once you have that VOD, the vacant opportunity description, this then gets posted on the following platforms. And it could be others, right? There's plenty, and I'll just name a few. So one we use is called Indeed, right? And I believe it's Indeed.com, where you can post job descriptions and roles to find talent. Another is LinkedIn. Another place you can find talent, post on job boards, etc. Another one that most people do not use much is local university or college job boards, depending on the experience level you want for that role. If you want someone with 10 to 20 years experience, probably a university job board won't be your best bet, but you never know. There might be someone who has 20 years of experience who's going back to college for their master's or PhD, or for their bachelor's for the first time, but has experience in a particular business. But these are 3 strong candidates. I mean, you could get to any kind of recruiting website or others. I mean, there's Monster, Career.com. I've used this in the past in my staffing business that I owned. Another one that I just have used recently, and you could do this for different ethnicities or niches or groups or whatever, but there is an association for, I forgot the technical name, a mentor of mine sent it to me, but it's an association for Black professionals with master's degrees, and there's like a job board for them. And so as we continue to be inclusive in our organization, we did make postings or can make postings in that particular arena as well. So you can look at different college, different fraternity, sorority, different ethnicity, if you will, depending how diverse you want to be in your organization. You can look at different niches and then you post those descriptions with maybe what your salary or job or retainer range is. Is it a contractor position? Is it an employee position? Is it an intern position, right? How long the term? Is it part-time? Is it full-time? These are all things that you want to put in your job description, right? So write a few of those things down. Part-time, full-time, right? Employee. If so, does it come with benefits? Is it a contractor position? Is this an intern or volunteer position? How long are you looking for the term of the position? Is it permanent? Is it temp? Right? These are different things you can do. You also can use a staffing agency as well. A staffing agency. Now, when you look at staffing agencies, they are going to charge a fee for doing your staffing for you. Inevitably, you may be posting these things as you're working in your business and working out. Ideally, you want a HR, right, human resources, or I would say an in-house human resources recruiter to do this for you, or what's called a hiring manager in your own organization as you grow as an organization. So ideally, you want to be able to do this in-house, which we do, and we have a hiring manager that handles our hiring in this process. If you don't, you initially got to start you doing it. I'm not a great hiring manager. Like honestly, it's probably my weakest skill in business is hiring. And so I recognize my weakness. So one of the first things I look to hire is a hiring manager because I'll let everybody come on. I'm just, as much as I know about business and as much as I know about talent and skill, I just have a big heart and I believe in potential because people believe in my potential. And so I like to give back and believe in others' potential. Now, most people that have that potential do not realize it, so it puts my business at risk. So I take myself out of the hiring practice because I suck at it. So I hire to my weaknesses and I dive in on my own strengths. So for you, I don't know how good you are at hiring, but this is where you want to start. If you want to leverage a professional, if you can't hire a full-time human resources or hiring manager, you can bring one on temporary as a consultant. You can use a staffing agency or what's called a headhunter. Usually headhunters are folks who look at high-level executives or specific niche roles, and they'll go out and get them. They're typically compensated by usually 30% of 1 year's salary. They get a pretty big check. Staffing agencies typically will get an override on the hourly fee. So if a staffing agency tells the person that's working, hey, we're going to pay you $20 an hour, it's likely that we told the staffing agency 20 was our max. They charged the person $15 an hour, and they got that $5 in between every hour for staffing, right? So they make an override. Now, I've literally owned and run a business just like that did that at a high level for warehousing, engineering, and industrial. Or a staffing agency will have a temp to perm, where the company that they have supplied a staff member to can buy the staffing agency out and keep that person on permanently, as opposed to a temporary employee or staff member where the staffing agency is getting that override in between for month after month, year after year. So the company can buy them out. But these are ways in which you can find, post, and begin to hire or at least recruit, right? So we're gonna get into the hiring next, like what you do to actually hire and onboard the person. But this is where you go to recruit and begin to recruit, to staff, and to build your team members is by, and mind you, you also can just general networking, right? Networking, word of mouth, Facebook, right? And other resources. You can post it anywhere you want, but these are some of the top and key places we look to recruit based on, again, based on you understanding what roles and responsibilities need to be met, based on a job description that you have researched, tweaked, and altered, based on a compensation that you can fit within your budget, and biggest of all, where's it at? Based on your priority, right? How you prioritize your roles. Mind you, if you have to staff 12, 5, even 3 people, first things first, make sure you get the job description and the post up, right? And the advertisement up for this role, for the most important roles first. Don't go staff with the janitor when you need an operations manager. The janitor could wait. You could pick up the trash, you could take out the trash. Right now you need somebody to manage your operations or somebody to market your business or whatever that might be. So always when you are staffing, remember to post your priorities first. We went through the same thing. I'm telling you things that happens in our company. Sometimes you just put it all out there and someone just puts it up to do their job, and you haven't trained your HR or your staff to say, hey, no, I need this role as the first role because that role is going to help me facilitate and organize and make that role perform, right? So you want to do that. Now, we're going to get into our next lesson. We're going to talk about the interviewing process once these roles come in, how you interview them, how you screen them, vet them, resume review, and some of our hiring and onboarding practices in our organization. And this is going to be the key to how you bring in that team. So I want you guys to write this down in preparation for our next lesson of what we're going to be going through. So now that you got your job description up, right? So that's the first and foremost, is get your job description up. Then we're going to be going into the resume review. All right, so after that job description, folks are going to send in resumes for you to review. Then we're going to get into our resume selection process. Then we're going to get into our pre-screening process. And then after pre-screening, we're going to get into a host of our onboarding process, right? How we bring people in to our organization once we like them. And again, there's going to be a host of also pre-screening things we're going to do, such as references checks and different follow-ups, etc. So we're going to give you some of our secret sauce to how we hire, how we bring talent into our organization, and how we secure our interest in that talent. And recruiting is going to be a forever living and breathing thing within your organization. You're always going to have a need to improve talent. Again, you're going to be working on your business, looking at deficiencies, looking at experience, expertise, and it's your job to bring in the best folks to your organization and keep the best folks within your organization. All right, guys, see you in our next lesson 15 of our RBCs.